Cheers and welcome to S.O.V and Beers. I'm your host Tony from SOVhorror.com, and today we're going to be taking a look at Church of the Damned. This is the first movie made by the Polonia Brothers back in 1985, put out by Sub Rosa around 2013 in this nice big box packaging. Nice packaging here. And before we get into the movie, though, as usual, I like to give a little history on the subject. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Polonia Brothers. So most people probably know the Polonia Brothers due to a little movie called Splatter Farm. Now, Splatter Farm was released in 1987 by Don and Michelle, and which is a small video label, actually very collectible. Those tapes sell for like $300 online, hence why I don't have a copy. And, you know, it was a pretty hard one to find back in the day. I used to have about 8 video store memberships, and my mom would drive me around to all the different video stores to, you know, rent whatever the latest horror film is. And I remember one of them had Splatter Farm, but it was that dreaded case, and I know you all know this, where the box is always there, but the tape is never in. So I never got to see Splatter Farm until many, many years later. And this DVD cut, unfortunately, is actually a new edit of the film. So it's actually not that original VHS edit, which is, put it this way, that tape should probably be illegal because there's underage nudity in it. But some people do prefer that cut. I've actually since seen that cut. But anyways, my first exposure to the Polonia Brothers was a little movie called Feeders. Now, Feeders was an easy movie to find. This movie was in every single Blockbuster store. And it's kind of an interesting story how that happened. What happened was Independence Day was about to come out on VHS at the time, and Blockbuster was looking for any movies that had aliens. And so Polonia Brothers, Feeders, one of the few alien movies made that year, they bought up a ton of copies of these, and these pretty much ended up in every Blockbuster. It was kind of a staple of Blockbusters. And so that's how I first saw Feeders. And the Polonia Brothers are they're a couple of Pennsylvania filmmakers. They're twin brothers, and they're most known probably because of their kind of copyright mustaches there. You know, they always had the mustaches, and you know, you just gotta love the Polonia Brothers. Those guys put so much heart into their movies. Sadly, John passed away not too many years ago, but Mark's still flying the flag, which is great. But ultimately, we're here to talk about Church of the Damned, so let's go ahead and get into the movie. Now, Church of the Damned came out in 1985, and what happened was the Polonia Brothers, they were making Super 8 movies, Super 8 short movies with their friends and stuff. And then in 1985, something very important happened in S.O.V history. It's actually probably the most important thing that's ever happened in S.O.V history, and it's why we have this poster right here, right now. This is a Blood Cult, 1985's Blood Cult, put out by United Home Video. This is an original video store poster for this. I was so fortunate to get a copy of this. But Blood Cult came out. And Blood Cult was really the first shot-on-video movie that was marketed as a shot-on-video movie. As a lot of you fans know, there was other shot-on videos before that. You know, you had Boarding House, you had Sledgehammer, you had Black Devil Doll from Hell. But as you can see here, Blood Cult was the first movie made for the home video market. Might just scare you to death. So this movie actually wore its shot-on-video flag on its cover. And just a side story on Blood Cult, maybe we'll talk about another day, but an interesting fact about Blood Cult not a lot of people know is the director, Christopher Lewis, is actually the son of a very famous actress, Loretta Young. But not only that, but he went to school with George Lucas. So he likes to say, you know, George Lucas made Star Wars and I made Blood Cult. But anyways, the Polonia Brothers obviously got their hands on this movie back in 1985, and it was highly influential in them making Church of the Damned. In a sense, really, Church of the Damned is almost kind of a remake of Blood Cult. There's a lot of similarities there. So let's go ahead and kind of talk about Church of the Damned and the plot and kind of give you a rundown. So Church of the Damned kind of follows this evil satanic cult called the Brotherhood, or brotherhood. It's spelled Thor. It's spelled incorrectly. But hey, they were 15. You gotta give them a pass, okay? and so the Brotherhood is just going around killing all these people to raise their dark demonic god. And I mean, they're going around just dispatching of people in nice gory ways. If you've seen Splatter Farm, you know what to expect here. You got dicks getting ripped off, you got people being sawed in half, heads getting cut off. You know, there's a lot of great gore. And actually, I'll just point out my favorite gore scene in the movie. There's an autopsy sequence where they cut open this guy's face, peel it back, and you see the insides. And I mean, it is amazing. Especially when you consider this was 1985 and made by 15-year-olds. I've seen movies made today that do not have effects that good. You know, they were working with limited resources, and they really did a lot, and it's because of heart and passion, and it obviously shows in the final movie. So pretty much there's this cult going around, and it's up to these two detectives, these two cops, to take down the cult. And the two cops, one of them is played by, I believe it's Mark Polonia. As I mentioned before, they're twins. John and Mark, the filmmakers, are twins, so it's kind of hard to tell them apart, but I think it's Mark. It doesn't really say in the credits, but I think it's Mark playing the one detective. And the other detective is played by Todd Smith, who you would recognize from Splatter Farm as well as the main cannibal god. And actually, I should note, Todd Smith actually co-directed this movie along with them. I believe he was even the one who came up with the initial story, so he was the one who ripped off Blood Cult. But some of the similarities between this movie and Blood Cult, obviously you have a cult going around killing people to raise their dark god. The other one would be, as you can see here, there's a nice little medallion of Caninus, they call it in Blood Cult. And in this movie, there's also a medallion that the cult members wear, but it kind of resembles a Christmas tree star. I actually think I have one very similar on my Christmas tree. But yeah, you know, they were working with what they had. So obviously it was very influenced by Blood Cult. It's all over it. But, you know, they shot this in 85, and, you know, they were still new to editing VHS. I'm not sure how they were trying to edit back then. My guess is they were daisy chaining VCRs. I know that's how a lot of us started on editing VHS. That's how I started. And it's not easy to edit that way. So they quickly abandoned it. They moved on to Hallucinations and then moved on to Splatter Farm. And it pretty much sat on the shelf. And it wasn't until 2013 when Sub Rosa put out this great big box. I mean, this thing is awesome. They only did 60 copies of these. And I'm not sure if you can still get them, but if you can, swoop it up while you can. I mean, there's a nice little picture card signed by Mark Polonia in it and everything. A poster. It also comes with a DVD of the movie. So, great movie overall. It really shows where these guys came from. There's a lot of heart in it. Another thing I just want to mention is the acting. You know, you would presume that acting in a film like this would not be very good, but the acting is actually really freaking good. It's not bad. Todd Smith, you know, he's probably the weakest actor in the movie, and you could probably guess that if you've seen Splatter Farm, but I still think he does a good job in it as well. And I mean, it was made by 15-year-olds, guys. And, you know, I've seen a lot of films from shot on video kids, you know, Johnny Dickey, Michael Bellamy, even the early films of Tim Ritter, you know, when he was just a teenager, you know, making these shot on video movies. And Church of the Damned is very accomplished. Now, as I mentioned, it was never finished, so it was recently edited by Mark Polonia. And another fact not a lot of people know about Mark Polonia is Mark is actually a very accomplished editor. He's edited a ton of movies besides the Polonia Brothers movies. I know he did a lot of editing for David Sterling, and I believe he did one of the Camp Blood movies. And so Mark really did a great job editing this. It's got a great score. I love the score. It actually reminds me of Blood Cult quite a bit. You know, it's that great synthesizer music that we all love from those 80s horror films. And so, what can I say? Church of the Damned, it's awesome. It's great. It's the beginning of the Polonia Brothers. You know, sadly, John passed away a few years back, but Mark is still out there. He's still kicking ass. He's making great movies. I highly recommend checking out some of his new stuff. You know, the guy's an S.O.V warrior through and through. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks for checking it out. If you want to see more S.O.V stuff, check out our website, SOVhorror.com. I got lots of interviews up there and stuff like that. And we actually just put out a S.O.V mini, which is a new series we're doing, which is a nice little bit with Mark Polonia talking about the United Home Video classic Blood Lake. So until next time, guys, all hail S.O.V, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, and cheers.